Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Idle Hands. Today we're back with another ROM video, another Ragnarok video, and we're gonna go back to what we usually do, which is explain stuff and mechanics around the Ragnarok Online Mobile game. Today we're gonna talk about a really interesting topic. It's Range 101, or understanding the fundamentals of ROM's weird range mechanics. And I call it weird because it's just weird in so many levels. I mean, every now and then, I guess in the Discord channel, it's almost a daily question to ask in the Ninja channel whether Ninja Shuriken is range or melee. And every single time I try to restrain myself from answering because, um, really when you ask for the range, there are multiple things that comes into play. And we're gonna talk about that later, but it's not just really it's not that simple to answer. So given that it's a little bit complex, this video may take a little bit longer. We're probably gonna hit the 30-minute mark for this video. Hopefully not, but we'll see. Um, so feel free to pause in between, take a break, and get back to it. But really, I wish you all can go through it so you can have a deeper understanding on how the range mechanics really works. Before we start, my usual disclaimers. I'm not a professional developer. I'm not a programmer. I don't work for XD. I'm not affiliated with anyone within XD. So everything I'll be talking about today is, solely based on my understanding of the in-game codes and from actual experience. Also, I'd like to thank everyone in Team Leaks. Um, Thanks for all of the support and thanks for all of the hard work you guys are doing, all of us are doing, and hoping for more leaks to come. And if you haven't already joined our unofficial ROM Discord group, um, please do so. We have thousands of members, everyone interacting with one another. And, if you do have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me there and I'll make sure to find some time to answer you. Okay, well, let's go right into it then. So, in order for us to understand the mechanics of range, we first have to familiarize ourselves with all of the things within it. Okay, so in ROM, the definition of range is a little bit iffy. Okay, so you have your base attack. So base attack, although it's not clear, it's not directly associated with range, but your base attack or your attack coming from your main attributes are actually based on, the weapon that you're using. Okay, your job in the weapon that you're using, similar to how if a stalker um, is using a bow, then Dex will affect his base attack. If he's using a dagger, then it's strength that affects his base attack. So base attack mainly is more job and weapon limited, but since the weapons are limited by the jobs, it can be indirectly deduced that it is mainly based on your weapon. And then you have launch range. We're going to talk about the explanation, but launch range is basically the targeting range for your attack or your skills. And then you have range attack, which I know is a similar terminology, but range attack is, mainly those archer enchants that you're getting, the range attack percent. So that's what it is. And of course, the sharp blade enchants. And then you have range damage. I don't know if you've seen it, but you probably would have seen some gear saying melee damage or range damage. So that's basically on your strength B and dexterity B foods, right? And then you also have range damage reduction, which you see on certain skills. Certain skills tells you melee damage reduction, and some skills will tell you, or some gears will tell you long range damage reduction. So these are the various aspects of the game that deals with the term range. And to tell you, they're all not equal to one another. These are all different things um, that the game checks and evaluates. Um, and so whenever you ask questions on whether Ninja Shuriken is ranged or melee, then there's a lot of things that are, you know, there's a lot of things basically that's at play, right? I mean, okay, maybe asking me is Ninja melee or range, and I'm gonna ask you, okay, are you talking about the launch range or are you talking about range attack, right? Are you talking about the base attack or are you talking about in terms of range damage reduction? So when you ask a question like that, there is no direct answer because you have to be very specific. But anyways, just do know that these things, these terminologies, and all of these are not equals to one another. We'll go through each and every one of them and let's try to explain what they are, what they do, and then later on we'll see how the various skills, when used by the respective jobs, translates into all of these. Okay, let's go to base attack first. Okay, so this basically specifies which attribute increases your character's base attack. Okay, the code is right here. It's a mouthful to read, so I'm not going to read it. Okay, but basically, if you translate that into human language, it talks about if you're using a ranged weapon, bow or etc., your base attack will mainly be based on dex. Okay, so you see it here. So it's dexterity multiplied by 2 plus the rounded down result of dexterity multiplied by dexterity over 100 plus strength over 5, rounded down, of course, plus luck over 5, which is also rounded down, plus base level attack rate by profession multiplied by level. So this is nothing but your job growth. So, so as you can see, it depends on um, your profession or the weapon that you're using. So there's a value in the game codes that checks whether you know this part, check remote attack, is true or false. Else if it's false, then your base attack will be basically based off of range. Um, I did talk about base attack in the introduction to the damage formula video, so feel free to watch that if you need more explanation on the base attack and what it does. Next, we go to launch range. Okay, so basically, launch range specifies how far you can use your skill or the targeting range of your skill with respect to your and your target's position. So if you're this guy who's about to bat the ball and this is the target, right? If he's able to bat that ball onto the target from this range, then the range in between is what's his launch range is. So if you're this guy and you're planning to throw out, um, let's say for example, Dragon Breath or Magic Dragon Breath, and this is your target. As long as this is within the specified launch range of your skill, then you will be able to release the skill. Otherwise, your character will have to walk before it releases that skill. It will walk up to the point where the range between your target and yourself is equals to 7, and then it will release the skill. Hope that was clear. So this is a snippet of Magic Dragon Breath. This is the skill code for Magic Dragon Breath. If you look here, launch range equals to 7. So this tells us that Magic Dragon Breath has a range of 7 cells. And that's basically what launch range is. So you're going to ask me, is Dragon Breath range or melee? From a perspective of launch range, it's ranged. It's not melee. Okay, so this value is used to determine if a skill or attack is melee or long range. It's also used to determine if it will be affected by safety wall or light shield, which is actually very important considering you know the complexity of high level PvP is, right? If you go into 6v6, there's a lot of there's a lot of things in play. So people generally try to set up their defenses and tries to put safety wall, tries to put light shield, and it's important to know whether your attack will be blocked by those or not. Okay, this is just a snippet of the value, or sorry, of the formula that checks whether a skill is a range skill. So basically, every skill that has a launch range of greater than 3 will be considered as a long range skill. Okay, and then there will be certain buffs, certain effects that is based on this, right? So basically, if it says just long skill equals to 1, then it means that the only skills that will be affected would essentially be only those skills that have launch range greater than 3. So one of this would be light shield, right? I mean, light shield only works for those with range greater than 3. Okay, so I hope that was clear. Launch range is a really interesting topic, and it's important for you to know what your launch range is, so that you can you can plan ahead basically. Next, range attack, and this is a funny topic. Range attack is really interesting because a lot of people argue about this and discuss this um, over in either Facebook or Discord. And some people even make baseless claims saying, hey, this particular job or this particular attack is affected by this, just so they can sell one of their gears with a not so suitable enchantment. So let's try to explain what this is. Okay, so this is basically melee attack percent and range attack percent. So yes, I'm talking about sharp blade and archer enchants. There are other things that uses the same parameter, but these are the most common ones. So this basically determines the attack percent bonus based on the weapon that you use. Okay, based on the weapon that you use. That's the keyword here, guys. Okay, so here's a snippet of Sharp Blade, right? So it basically says melee attack plus 2.5%. If you try to pull up the code for Sharp Blade 4, this is how it looks like. Um, Now, if I translate that in human language, it basically says attack percent plus 10% as long as you're not using any of these weapons. Okay? Now, on the other side, this is Archer for range attack plus 10%. It simply says attack percent plus 10% as long as you are using these weapons. So as you can see, it's pretty clear cut. It's one or the other, right? And it's always dependent on the weapon that you use. Okay, so um, going back to our sample, which was Shuriken for Ninja, right? Ninja is not any of these, sorry, the Shuriken is not any of these weapons. So from a range attack perspective, it is this one, melee. Okay, so I hope that clears it up. I hope everyone can just kind of internalize this and keep this in mind when they share stuff with other people. Okay, next is range damage. So range damage is very similar to range attack, but instead of the attack percent, it deals with the damage increase percent, PDI as people call it. Um, so here it simply determines a damage percent bonus based on the weapon that's used. Okay, again, we're dealing with the weapon. So here on the left side, you see Orc Hero Helm. Um, And it basically says, when it's refined to plus 10, your melee physical damage plus 10%. The code is right here. And if you transition that or translate that into human language, it basically says, physical damage increase plus 10% as long as you're not using any of these weapons. On the right side, you have Niles Bracelet. So for Niles, it's basically physical damage increase plus 15% as long as you are using um, any of these weapons. This is the general buff that Niles gives. Um, If you're gonna ask me about Soul Breaker, there is a special code for Soul Breaker to take into consideration the range damage increase. So it's a separate case for Soul Breaker. They basically inserted one line there that would take that into consideration when you have the Fortune Sword or Fortune Dagger refined to plus 15. Okay, so hope we're clear with this. This is actually very easy to understand. Most people are already kind of familiar with this, but it's actually the same concept as the attack and the attack percent, sharp blade and archer enchantment. So yeah, the only difference would be the parameter they affect. Next, range damage reduction. So this is basically short range dam reduc and long range dam reduc. So two um, these are two parameters in the game code um, that is actually inserted into their respective formulas. So there really isn't any general rule, okay? So I can't tell you, I can tell you that okay, if the skill, say for example, has X launch range, and if they're using this particular weapon, then it's automatically gonna be long range dam reduct. No, there is nothing like that. Here we'll have to check everything one by one. So there is no list. I don't have a list actually. Did make a list before of skills or attacks that's affected by the Duff Cloak or Duff Garment, but it's pretty much outdated, and I haven't had the time to make a new list. But yeah, so it's really based on formula, and the only thing you can actually do to check is to actually do actual testing or taking a peek at that particular attack formula. Okay, so here's the code here for Duff. What it means is, it's 15% damage reduction if long range dam reduc is used in the skill or attack formula. Now, on the right side, this is the Fortitude shield rune. I make it a little bit bigger so I can flex my rune. Um, so what this basically tells us is there's a part here that says melee damage reduction plus 9.1%. So what this means is there's an X% damage reduction if short range dam reduc is used in the skill slash attack formula. Now, so far I haven't seen a skill or an attack that uses both of these at the same time. But I've seen skills and attacks that doesn't have either of these in the formula, which means it's neither affected by short range dam reduc and long range dam reduc. So that's why, it's pretty much something that we have to check one by one. Say for example, Dragon Breath, we have to check it, Cart Tornado, all of the attacks basically. So that's why it's a little bit time consuming to come up with a list. Okay, now let's go through a little bit of example here, right? Because range damage reduction or short range dam reduc and long range dam reduc is different from your regular damage reduction, which is dam reduc or M dam reduc. This one directly negates damage increase. Okay, so if you look here, so this is Asura Strike. So it's 1 plus dam increase minus short range dam reduc. For Dragon Breath, it's here, 1 plus dam increase minus long range dam reduc. So again, there's no existing list. We'll just have to go through the pain of checking each and every one of these one by one. Okay, now that was five already. We went through, sorry, all these five. So now we're gonna try to summarize all of this knowledge and try to put it into application. Um, go there. So this is, a rough table that I've created. This doesn't cover all of the skills, but it does cover the range damage reduction. So this is basically the but basically some of the popular skills are here. So the first one is Magic Dragon Breath, right? So in terms of base attack, it's based on strength because you're a rune master if you're using this. And if you're a rune master, you can't use a bow or a ranged weapon, so you're probably going to use a spear or whatever melee weapon. So it's based on strength. The launch range, as we've seen, is 7, so this is considered ranged. Range attack in terms of whether sharp blade or archer enchants, it's melee, okay, because you're not using a ranged weapon. Therefore, it is affected by sharp blade. Now, in terms of range damage, it's melee because you're not using a ranged weapon. Therefore, it's affected by Orc Hero Helm, even though the launch range is actually ranged. And in terms of range damage reduction, we checked that a while ago, so it does have the long range dam reduct. So this is affected by Duff. And because the launch range is 7, which is greater than 3, it is blocked by Light Shield. So I hope everyone got this, okay? There are some other skills here that I'll go through, but you see, that's why, when someone asks, okay, it's Magic Dragon Breath range or melee, it becomes a bit difficult to answer. So we just always have to be more specific. Next off, this is Depravity, if I'm not mistaken. It's a mouthful to read, but so we call it SD, okay? So again, since you're a Soul Blade Cross, you're going to be using a non-ranged weapon. So base attack is melee, so it's based on strength. Launch range is 0, okay? It's actually melee. And probably take some time to explain this skill in detail in the future, but this skill actually is a skill that gets released from using your character as a center going outwards. So essentially, it has no range in terms of launch range. It's 0 range. Okay. So in terms of range attack, since you're using a non-range weapon, it's Sharp Blade, and damage, it's Archero Helm again. Now, in terms of range damage reduction, this one uses short range dam reduct. Doesn't matter if you're far away from the caster. Okay, again, this is the code that's being used, so therefore it's short range dam reduct that comes into the picture. Duff will not affect it. And again, because it's melee, it's safety wall that blocks it, not light shield. Okay, now there are other examples here. This one is SRS, or I think this is called Severe Rainstorm. This is this is a skill that's used by performers. So because you're using a ranged weapon, base attack, is basically range, so it's based on dex. Launch range is 5, which makes it a range attack. And because you're using a ranged weapon, the Archer enchant and the Niles bracelet affects it. And upon looking at the code, it's long range dam reduct that affects it. And of course, because of the launch range, it is light shield that's blocking it. Okay, next off, this is a ninja skill, which I think is called Wind Shuriken, or people like to call it Shurinado. Um, Here's where bulk of the questions actually are, right? So, so again, you're using a melee weapon. So your base attack is melee and it's therefore based on strength. In terms of launch range, it is 6 cells, which makes it ranged from a launch perspective. Okay, range attack and range damage is melee, again, because you're using a non-melee weapon. And in terms of range damage reduction, it uses long range dam reduct. And because of that, because of the launch range, it is being blocked by light shield. So I hope you're getting the hang of this, okay? So these are basically all of the various factors you have to consider when you talk about range and when you just try to inspect the skills that you're using. Last one is Card Tornado, so it's pretty self-explanatory. I won't go through it, but yeah, these are the things that affect it. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. That's it for the discussion today. As you can see, ROM's mechanics in terms of range is a little bit weird. Okay, don't ask me why it's made this way. I can't answer you. I just simply try to interpret it based on what I see. Um, but it is how it is. It's how they designed it. And before I end this, I think some people may have questions. Hey, Idol, you talk about SD, right, being blocked by light shield. Um, sorry, safety wall. How come when I cast it, the return port isn't being blocked by safety wall? So I'm not going to discuss it right now. It's probably, I don't know, I've discussed it in Discord several times. My perspective there, it's a bug. So basically, when you check the code, there is something missing. That's why, it's going through a safety wall and Kyrie. Yeah, it's to me, it's definitely a bug. But anyways, yeah, I hope you learned something new today. I hope you are able to integrate this with how you plan and play your character, and hopefully you'd be able to share this with all of your friends and all the people you play with. Again, I want to thank you for staying with me throughout the discussion. Uh, Thanks for watching the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. We will be doing several more videos like this. I know for some they may be boring, but these are topics I sincerely enjoy and I love talking about. And I hope out of this you'd be able to learn something. Okay, well, thanks again. I'll see you in the next video. If you have any feedback or comments, please drop it down in the comment section. Talk to you later, guys.